Wake up, Molly. Say cheese.
What up? Welcome back to the pod. Are you asleep? Oh, okay, you just paused for a second. Let's try this again, people. What up? Welcome back to the pod. We are here with the alert and awake Paul, aka
Mr. Qualified. How y'all doing?
an out of turn introduction. Yours truly, everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Don Don. New shirt alert. I don't think I have worn this on the podcast. You all see this as Jaws, a classic movie. From where I'm sitting in my inverted camera, this says Sawaj. So shout out to Jaws, Sawaj, James, and Samaj.
You might as
Uh,
well shout out SWAC at this point.
Swag.
Southwestern Athletic Conference. So
My brain can't compute that. What is early in the morning? Don't do that to me. I barely what? No. Um,
crying.
you the way my brain just shut down trying to figure out what that was. You know that GIF, however you say it, of all those formulas around somebody's head.
Yes.
That was me in this very moment.
Wait. So it is GIF. I never wait. Actually, I don't know what it is. I hear both all the time, and I never know if one is definitively the answer.
Okay, GIF or GIF stands for, let's find out because Google is a thing. Giphy is if that's a word, GIF meaning. Okay, let's go with that. Graphic interchange format. So graphic GIF is GIF.
It's GIF.
Also, I feel like it's GIF because if you put a T, then it's gift,
Yes.
right? And most people, even with the T, still say, I'm about to get a Christmas gift. So let's just, for the pod and the people listening, it's GIF. If you have something to say otherwise, sure, but it's GIF today. So
Yes.
yeah, I was computing all of that stuff with the GIF, but we are here for another episode to talk about some shit. What we checking in on today? We said we was going to talk about therapy and dating and love languages.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. All that.
Okay.
That's where we at with
Don't
it.
get too much in my business now. We ain't telling the people everything.
No, same. but yeah, no, but in general, first and foremost, how was your week? Good, brother.
From what I can remember, the week it was decent. Um,
Why do you have so much trouble remembering the last week?
I have so much trouble remembering every week because unless something like great happens, I'm like, oh God, here's another 5 days of work. Let me X this from my memory bank. I'm grateful for the check, but the things that come along with it, that opportunity cost is trash, man.
Listen, I am, in one way or another free in a sense. So for a couple of weeks, hopefully not too long.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully not for too long. I have a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of freedom. But yeah, no. Yeah, what comes with that? What comes with that check, or what you got to do for that check? I do not like doing strange things for change, and it feels like I'm doing that every time I go to work. It just feels like I'm getting taken advantage of at this point. So,
How much change we talking? Because I could be convinced. You
talking
know?
like you could be convinced to be a little strange. Hell, for the right amount of change, call me Doctor Strange. Okay.
Listen.
Just talking
I mean, I'm not saying I'm easy, but I could be convinced. I learned, you know what? I learned in grad school, and I took this and probably ran with it too far. One of my professors in grad school said early on, she said, everything is debatable. And I was just like, yeah, okay. But she was talking about that like from a self-advocacy standpoint. Like you were in grad school, you were an adult, most of us were all working full-time jobs anyway. So she was just like, yeah, we do have deadlines and things like that, but a lot of stuff in grad school is debatable. So I've taken that for my life and like everything is debatable and everything, I can be sold on some things. So you put the right amount in front of me, I'm gonna say, maybe.
I want to talk about there's a price that might always be right.
hmm Shout out to The Price is Right, because I used to watch that all the time growing up. The days I ain't go to school, I'd be at my grandma's house, 10 o'clock in the morning, The Price is Right is on. I knew how much toothpaste was. I knew how much cars cost. I know what coupon codes, all of that. I was like, yes.
Yeah. When I didn't go to school or when I got home from school, early on, it was Pops watching Walker, Texas Ranger. Don't know why. Didn't learn much from that show. But when I was at Graham's house, I was watching all the Judge shows. So Judge Judy, Judge Joe Brown, Divorce Court, all of it. So, and yet I still don't know that much about the law or about court for that matter. But nonetheless, it was entertainment.
It's funny you mentioned that. This is going somewhere. You were talking about the court shows, divorce court, and all of that. We just had a like icebreaker question in our meeting for work on Friday.
Ooh,
And the question was, I like them though.
okay.
It's always like some thought provoking. I like my team. I really like my team. So
That's
it's not like, oh, hey, let's get to know each other. It's very much just a catch up kind of question. But this question was, if you could like host or have a TV show, what would it be? And talk shows came up. So going back in the day to like Jerry Springer, Maury, Sally Jesse Raphael, Rolanda, which is a little further back for some folks. I thought about like, damn, like we don't have talk shows anymore.
nah.
Um,
You do, but they're just set up much differently now.
I mean, you still have like panel talk shows like The View and stuff, but now talk shows in that vein, I feel like are just podcasts. So we're a talk show. But it was always about like some failed relationship or my man is sleeping with our three neighbors, sister wives, and all that other stuff. So I feel like we learned some relational trauma back then. So I feel like now we can unpack that in therapy. So what you've been talking to your therapist about?
Yeah, I call my therapist bro Nim for to keep things anonymous. But I refer to them as bro Nim or big dog. But nah, he really what was funny was there was a point in time where I was considering if I needed a new therapist, not because something is wrong with them, but I didn't feel like I was being pushed at a certain point. I didn't feel like I was necessarily being like pushed or challenged in the way that I kind of wanted to. But it's almost like as soon as I said that, like the same way that you talk about the edible, it's like as soon as I said that, lo and behold, bro, them came in swinging. Uh,
Right.
nah, but I think lately it's really been about being mindful of judgments, whether that be for myself or other people, and then also my intentionality toward um my self-acceptance, my mindfulness, and also my independence. Those are three things that I think maybe about like 3 or 4 sessions ago, probably about like 2 or 3 episodes ago when we brought it up. I think in the self-acceptance part of it, those are the three things that we had identified, and so that's kind of been the focus as of late. But yeah, it's just been peeling back the layers of that and ultimately getting to a place of me figuring out how do I not operate out of fear because I'm starting to see the layers of how me operating out of trying to protect myself, how that leads to affecting like the relationships around me and other things like that. So that's kind of been the focus in general. But yeah, he been doing his job. He been working for that check. I'll tell you that much. Tell you that much.
Yeah, I sent Wanda our last episode
Okay.
and I was just like, hey, I've been talking about this podcast. If you want to watch it, feel free. But if not, can you pay attention to these specific time blocks? And I sent her like it's probably like 5 minutes of footage. I was like, we need to talk about this next time. She was like, okay, sure. So we meet next week. But you have mentioned some word fear. You said the fear of those things. Is it just the fear of it being unknown, or is the fear attached to some like dating insecurity? I'm assuming that was specific to dating. My bad.
Yeah, for the most part, it's specific to dating. I mean, it can apply in life, but I mean that's more so the area where it has shown up the most. But uh I guess it's more toward it's more the latter, but I don't know if it would necessarily be an insecurity. I think for me, I am looking ahead. and I'm anticipating. And the protection aspect is I feel like I look at myself as like a last line of defense, right? So in
For
a
who?
for whatever the relationship is or whoever I'm talking to. So if it's a situation where okay, like I'm looking at you hoping that you are able to handle something, because in my mind if you aren't able to handle something or like respond to something well, right, then it gets bad for you first, which then ultimately makes it bad for us because then we're bringing negative versions of ourselves to the table. And then if it gets bad for us, that's when it really gets bad for me. Like when it starts affecting me in a way where I feel like not so much that I can't control things, but I see that I'm getting like frustrated about more things. And that is more so what I fear that happening. I don't think it's so much a fear of something specific. I just fear the state of something being bad and feeling like it's something that can't be repaired. So in order to protect that up front, I'm like very like challenging and pushy in the sense of like let's stay sharp here so we don't even have to get to a space where I'm looking at myself as like the last line of defense, which in theory sounds proactive, but
Mhm.
in actuality it can be restrictive and limiting if that doesn't necessarily create an environment where it's conducive for a person to respond their best to you and not feel pressure to respond to you in a particular way. So I think it's more based in that than it is the fear of something specific.
Okay. I can relate to that. I feel like if we are framing this in a dating context, I think I would be great in a dating context in theory, right?
Yeah.
The moment you put that to practice, and it's not even that like, oh, titles change shit and all of that stuff. It's just when you have identified the person or well, in my situation, the person that you were wanting to like be with. Now it's like, damn, I don't have no blueprint. Like what I'm supposed to do next. So I won't call it a fear, but it's just now what? Like how do you keep this going? Because we talked a few episodes ago about strangers, right? They
Yeah.
friends and strangers that don't leave.
Yeah.
The same thing with partners. So I'm just like, damn, you still here, like with me? What we supposed to do? What are we supposed to talk about? What is I need an adult. Like,
Neither of us seem like what. But no, my best friend has this saying that she always kind of refers to or says in regards to like working with your partner or working to build something with somebody. And it's just working the work. I mean, and that can apply to a lot of different, things, obviously, but we can talk about how much work it takes to I mean, do virtually anything of value, but in the specific realm of dating, like that's work because you are constantly learning a person, you're constantly adapting to a person, and you're constantly teaching a person how to adapt to you. And so within that work, you got to work that. Like there's gonna be layers to all of those levels, of things. And there's a huge I think the older I've gotten and the more I've experienced in dating, I think I've got a better understanding of patience and sacrifice. Like life will do that to you for sure. But in the realm of dating, like pay I don't even know how I would start to define patience because it's patience with yourself, like it's patience with another person, it's patience if you looking at you and another person as an item or in a partnership. Like there's just the patience of knowing that y'all are both trying to figure it out, and the patience of knowing that y'all might be figuring out at different timelines, or y'all might be at different spaces, but then there's the trust of like, okay, I'm trusting for you to handle yourself in that space and then meet me, or I'm hoping that you trust me to handle myself in this space and then meet you, and then that requires patience, and then all of that can be considered sacrifice. So it's just got to keep working the work. But I mean, of course that's easier said than done, but it at a certain point I guess you have to get comfortable with the uncertainty that will always be there, because even as you start to build a foundation, even as you start to build an identity, whether it be as an individual or as a couple, there's still going to be uncertainty somewhere. There's still going to be something you don't know what the outcome of it will be or how it will go. So I think just getting comfortable with the inevitableness of uncertainty is a large part of however you look at that journey.
Do you have any insecurities in dating that you have identified? Don't ask me because I don't know that I have an answer for it, but I want to get in your business.
I don't know if I've thought about it in that context, maybe so much as an insecurity, but I have identified things. I mean, I guess I have. Maybe I just haven't used the word, but I guess essentially that's what it's been identified as. But I am very attached to what I think the role I'm supposed to play is, because of what I've created in my head. So outside of society's expectation of men being, protectors, providers, XYZ, I think I've made it up in my head that I'm supposed to be, hell, call me Clark Kent. I'm supposed to be Superman. Okay. I'm supposed to not even so much have it all figured out, but I'm supposed to be able to take care of whatever. And I think part of what I've struggled with is accepting that I wasn't in a place to take care of a lot of things for, another person. Cause hell, I could barely take care of it for myself. And that made me feel weak in a way. Like not even being able to do it for myself made me feel weak. And then to think about that as to be the reason why I can't really do something for another person, I wasn't even thinking about whether the person deserved it or wanted it. I was so focused on the fact that I just thought that's what I was supposed to be able to give. So I think an insecurity I've identified that I've been working on is this idea that based on that role, I've hardly ever seen myself as enough. And I think that that's been an insecurity because I almost always approach every situation kind of assuming that I won't be enough if I'm not able to operate in this role the way that I have envisioned it in my mind. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest insecurities that I've identified.
That is very interesting because hearing you say that made me realize I'm the opposite.
Hmm.
I know that I'm enough. Like if I'm in a situation, if we're talking about dating and we agree, like, okay, you see me, I see you, we go together, right? I know that I am enough. My insecurity is, am I too much?
Mm,
Because I will, if I like you, I'm gonna open up my life, my mind, my world to you.
yeah,
And you are not in a space to receive that. If you don't think that that is compatible energy, like I think I will feel like too much because I'm just like this ball of energy that just needs to get out and like share myself with somebody.
yeah,
So I think my too much would be if I had to like identify insecurity, but is it really ever too much? Who knows, right? Because that's how you got to find the compatibility of your person.
yeah,
Um, but again, in theory, yeah. In practice, it's like slow the hell down. You okay? Now you're doing too much. I feel like I'm suffocating, and I wouldn't want to feel that way, and I wouldn't want people to suffocate me either, or to do that to people. But that too much part is just like Wanda.
I um I I never thought about myself being too much, but I am overtly conscious of how much of myself I'm giving. And while I'm very comfortable with being vulnerable, like, with the person once that level has been reached. But I think I'm super conscious of like, I also understand that I feel like at least what I've learned in my experience is my level of vulnerability is not easily matched. I say matched and not reciprocated because I don't want to make it seem like it's more so about a person not uh feeling the same or anything like that, but the
Mhm.
ability to be vulnerable comfortably, and healthily and with confidence at that, is not it's not an easy thing for a lot of people to do. I mean, I think we even talked about this in terms of like, I think it was in our voice and agency episode where it's like, even just in terms of voice, like there aren't a lot of people that have developed how to confidently advocate for themselves or speak up for themselves. So, I think for me, because I'm because I am such an open book and because I'm so willing to share, because in my mind, knowledge and information equates to you being equipped to make whatever decisions you need in regard to me, us, whatever, which in theory, it sounds great, but in practice, it's
Mhm.
it's tough because just because you give someone information doesn't mean that they'll know what to do with it. Doesn't mean they'll want to learn what to do with it. Doesn't mean they'll care enough to make sure that they treat it delicate because it's another person, feelings, whatever the case may be. And that doesn't put them at fault as much as it's just a reality of everybody not having the same capacity or maybe not having the same desires and intentions, XYZ. So I can definitely relate to the too much aspect too, because when you when you feel like you are, especially when it comes to like vulnerability and expression, if you
Mhm.
feel you are more comfortable in doing that, it can kind of come off as smothering, or worse, sometimes it can be conflicting because if you're able to do that, but somebody else isn't, but then they don't want you to be different, then it can be conflicting because I don't know how to make that type of adjustment. I don't know how to pull back without detaching, um kind of deal. So I within dating, that can be really a really interesting tightrope to walk as well. So yeah, yeah.
How fitting that I'm wearing this shirt today. I didn't know this what we was gonna be talking about, but just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, ha, shark just come and bite your ass. That's what dating is like. You thought, so, okay, I'm gonna take some time off. I'm single, I'm good. Took a bite out your ass, and now you in love, or now you got your heart broken or whatever. Just stay out the water. I just like to be on the beach, but
Wait, so within dating, where do you feel like the aspect of territorialness comes into play?
in what regard?
In regard to, so I seen this post that talked about who was more territorial between men and women. And I don't really, I mean, there are gender things that play a role, but I don't think it comes down to gender. I think it just comes down to what is triggering your territorialness. Because I consider myself to be more protective than I am territorial. Like I'm
Right.
protective of my things and my people, but I wouldn't say that I'm territorial in the sense that I am I think territorialness to me gets a little bit too close to possessiveness. And that's why I don't like using the term. I get it when people say it. I understand generally what it's referring to, but that's why I look at myself as being more protective than territorial. But a lot of people will confidently say like, "Oh no, I'm territorial of what's mine. Like, it's mine." But you had kind of made a point off camera just about what the two kind of different things it could stem from. So I guess how have you seen that, whether it be from personal experience or just from afar? How have you seen that play out in dating?
I mean, I think I'm a territorial person in general, but again, my territorial nature is really exercised by my protectiveness as a person. Like, if you were in my bubble, if you were in my circle, if you were here, then I'm very protective of you. Probably more than I should be, but that's just how I am. So then to carry that over into dating, and it's like, uh-oh, is this too much? Because that's just what it is. But no, I don't ever want to take the independence from somebody. I don't ever want to take the agency away from somebody. Like, live your life, because I don't want to live yours. Like, I'm living mine. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. What Mariah Carey got drunk and said, I'm doing the best of what I got. Like, that's me. So I can't do that for two people. I can't think for two people. I can't live for two people. Like, that's just not what it is. But because I care, I generally care about you, or genuinely care about you. I don't want to see you hurt. I don't want to see you harmed. I don't want to see you taken advantage of. And the way my brain works, I see all of these like possible future scenarios of something.
Mm.
So if I see you in a situation where you could be taken advantage of, or you could be hurt, or it could be negative in some way, I try to stop myself from jumping in and be like, So is that territorial? I don't think so, but I mean, we can cut gender norms out because fuck does that matter, right? But I think as that video said that you were talking about, if you consider yourself a territorial person, you should probably look in the mirror and say, is this rooted in some insecurity?
Mm,
Because you are then holding on to or latching on to something that you haven't quite worked through yet.
yeah.
So, mhm.
Yeah, no, that's real, and that's also circling back to like something else that's came up in therapy as well. Because I kind of have that same plight where it's like I'm looking at things and like I'm trying to it. I think it's really I don't like making this comparison because I don't think they're two comparable or similar things. But the best way I can kind of describe the dynamic is like if you're with a partner or dating a person or whatever, and you're trying to stop yourself from jumping in and like saving the day, if you will. I kind of liken it to, a parent trying to stop themselves from doing things for their child as their child gets older. Like the parent can't so much control like the nature to just want to protect and help. Like moms will say that all the time. Like, I don't want you to, if I feel like you don't have to experience things that I did, that's why I'm pushing or that's why I'm challenging something. And that can happen in, relationships too. But I think the tricky part with relationship is nobody, like, you don't want a parent in your partner. So that line gets really skewed because how do you balance like, well, I'm trying to protect you, and but also like I also got to let you do this knowing that whatever happens it's probably going to affect me in some capacity, but I have
That
to.
part.
And that's the part where it's like I know this is coming back to me in some capacity. There's some residuals that are going to hit at some point, and I'm trying to prepare myself.
Oh, hit by strays. Like,
Look,
yeah.
vibe and use your weave, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, I'm trying to be prepared. I'm in the gym, you know what I'm saying? But it's
Speaking of Jim, you do look like a boxing coach right now. Is given like that's the Keith Lee variant that you have right now. If Keith Lee was out here training Michael B. Jordan and Creed, they would have casted you.
the thing is Keith Lee actually is a fighter, like MMA,
No,
boxing, all that.
that's why
So
people need to keep his name out their mouth because he will quite literally beat their ass, both cheeks.
talk about forget a slap. No, we full on. You gotta worry about the
Yeah.
head kick at this point.
Mm-mm. So you sorry, I've been sitting on this since this recording started. I'm like,
I'm so
be out here.
retarded.
Ooh, it's hot.
But yeah, circling back to wrap up, I think I just have two more questions actually for you. The first one being, I don't think that this came up specifically, but in regard to dating relationships, whatever perspective you're looking at it from, what is your outlook on titles
Um, I don't understand the question.
in relationships? Like, do you have an outlook on titles in terms of the value they hold? Because some people, matter of fact, I don't know if I can find a tweet, but somebody said black people act like being somebody BF or GF is a blood covenant.
um, t- titles don't necessarily matter in the sense of like if you have identified who y'all are to each other, then
Mm,
it's fine. Because I'll be the first one to say I don't want to get married. Like I don't desire to get married. If I'm with somebody who wants to get married and I love them, then of course, like why not? But it's not something I'm looking forward to. But marriage is a title, husband, wife, this, legal title of partnership. I've never given a shit about. Um, but in a relationship, like, yeah, if this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, this is my partner, like those titles, I feel like matter because I don't think they matter if I'm speaking for myself. They don't matter for me in a relationship. I think they matter for the public because
mm,
I'm not on the market. I'm not interested. I have identified this person. So everybody else is like washed away. So when people try to come in and be like, "Oh, well, I mean, you can't have friends," I almost let me get my language together. I hate when people use that phrase, especially men to women. Oh, so you can't have friends?
Yeah, it's
No,
very unbecoming.
she said no. Like
It's very unbecoming, and I
nobody would be friends with your annoying ass anyway. So
for men, I think yeah, men are just weird in that regard. I feel like I've caught flack in the past for this for sure, but it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't believe in titles. I just think I am scarred. And I've had the experience of titles holding almost too much value to whereas the title means more than what's actually happening in the relationship.
true.
And that's why I have the outlook that I have on it. I don't think it's hard to call somebody that if that's how you feel, if that's what you want to call them, if that's the title you want to put on it. But I also don't think that a title defines the relationship. It's the same. I mean, but also I don't think a title is the same as like a what are we? Like I don't think those are completely synonymous because what are we can be a very valid question given circumstance and the timing of things that happen. Even though I know people hate the question,
I
but
hate that question.
but
What are we? We're human. We're people.
I get wanting
No, yeah.
definition or clarity. So I understand that. I think the interesting part is it goes back to security though. The title for a lot of people is more equated to security than really anything else, than actual emotion, than how they see the person. Like a title for most people emotionally is like with this title, XYZ XYZ can't happen or XYZ can happen and I can feel upset about it because the title secures this space. And I feel like based on a lot of other people's experience, the title means so much because if you're in a situation where you're dealing with somebody or dating with somebody and there isn't one, and then they go and do whatever, but then they say, "Oh, we not together." Then the other person is sitting there like, "Well, I'm hurt," but then it's like, "I can't be hurt because we wasn't together," type of deal. And I think like that's a slippery slope too, obviously. But I think all of that more so comes down to the communication, which is why I'm like, depending on the conversations you having and where you really are with a person, it's like the title shouldn't the title shouldn't be the thing that stamps like what y'all are doing. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting in our conversation.
So here's the thing with titles. The title, speaking for myself, the title should not define who we are and what we are to each other. However, I think titles do outline that, right? It doesn't define the relationship, but it outlines it.
Yeah,
And from a branding standpoint, like, do you have a name? What's your name?
like
What
my
is your actual name?
Steven.
Right. Everybody has a name. Stephen does not define who you are, what you do, but it does outline you as a person. It's like, oh, I can associate this with Stephen. I can associate this with what he does and those things like that. And I feel like it's the same thing. Like name it, claim it. There's power in name. So from a branding standpoint, like if you all are together, you're in a relationship, whatever, if you say, oh, this is my person, you can use that language, but you're going to say this to put a title over to outline who this person is. But just because that is your boyfriend, just because that is your girlfriend, does not mean that that's like the gospel. And I feel like people do get caught up in titles. I will hold off on titles as long as I possibly can because then I feel like it makes it real. And then you don't get to live in this like false sense of reality, like, oh shit, we actually
It's a thing. This
you're
is a
a
thing.
thing.
This is a
So now
thing.
I'm supposed to act different. When in actuality, you've been doing the relationship
Right.
shit already. Now you put this title and it's like titles complicate things. It's like, no, dumbass. Your brain did that. You are now spinning your wheels and everything. But no, titles, I feel like for me, outline the relationship. They don't define the relationship because you got to put the work in.
And on that note, boxing coach Keith Lee feels like this episode would Bob use your weave. But
Take my weave out. This is hot. Whew.
Donna, what if people thought you actually had like weave or a wig on? I
Well,
mean, do people think that? Do people think that just kind of be getting you some extensions every now and again, or do they always realize that that's actually your hair?
That is a great question. I've been asked if this was real. And I can give witness protection, so I can look like four different people in the same week with four different hairstyles. They was like, "Is that real?" I'm like, "Yep, I grew it myself. I don't know how I'm supposed to respond to that." They'd be like, "Wow." I'm like, "What is I don't get it." Yes, it's my hair. Every style is my hair. But no, it's happened more than once.
Mm.
God, is that all yours? Whose else is it gonna be?
No, I believe it wholeheartedly. Witness protection is crazy, but but nonetheless, great personality, great conversation. I don't know. I feel like we made y'all laugh, but I feel like we also talked about some very serious topics that we've been discussing in therapy and around the dating world. So there's something that y'all could take away from this. And with that being said, given Donald's luscious hair and given my crown and my wig cap, keep boxing training Keith Lee gives this episode a 10 out of 10.
10 for the wigs. Let's go.
Tens across the board. Okay, give me my things. All
Oh.
right. until, until next episode, we'll catch y'all next time. Peace.